Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here, and get ready for Gnosis. We're going to talk about an interesting character who's been around for many years, a Tim Rifat. Very interesting character who's written many years ago, wrote probably the best books on remote viewing that I've ever read, and gave out some very secretive information which has always ingratiated me to him. He knew information other people didn't. How? Why? I don't know, but he certainly seems to know it. After these years of writing these books and generally struggling, he has been victimized and attacked by all of these intelligence agencies for somehow knowing or revealing these secrets. This, of course, has over the bombardment and even, as he alleges, the use of psychotronic-type weapons on him to mess him up mentally, has caused a lot of problems. In his anger and so forth, he has come out threatening the Queen and everybody else and saying how he's going to kill everybody, which is just plain stupid in general. So, even if you have the capacity. But the problem is when people don't die, when you say you're so powerful and you're going to kill them, well, you lose all credibility, which is unfortunate. He also has some very strange and odd websites and other things selling different products, which we have tested some of those with no decent results whatsoever. He likes to call things psychotronic machines, which are basically stones or crystals charged with energies, and he doesn't seem to know how to charge these to get the results that he claims, and he claims outrageous results that just don't happen. We've tested several of his items and picked up nothing except one of the crystals had some very strong negative energy in them. So his products seem to be poor. A lot of his other stuff he's offering seems to be very poor. But he does have good information. I mean, he has some very long and elaborate discussions on YouTube about many different subjects. And, you know, if you're a person of knowledge and can screen out some of the misunderstandings and oddness, there's some very good information there. I do recommend people listen to it, but like everything in life, you don't take it for 100%. But there's very fascinating information. He brings up a lot of topics that other people are afraid to talk about. He's not afraid to get out there and call people names, talk about what's going on, etc. In some ways, he's quite interesting and even fun, and seems to have a good sense of humor. I'm not sure what his entire background is. Apparently, he is Turkish. He appears to be in his 60s, and of course, he is a British citizen. As I've mentioned, he's written 3 major books on remote viewing, which are all excellent and is something we recommend in our schools, etc. These are the books to get if you want to learn remote viewing, because he does give you the interesting insights and talk about some of the amazing achievements there. Yet, personally, and you know, you can have a lot of information, and whether you can apply it yourself and whether it works for you yourself is always the problem with any advanced technologies. If you give somebody a very advanced machine, well, they have to be trained on it, and generally you're going to have to work with something for years, if not decades, to become a master of it. If it's a technology in general, it doesn't mean that it can work for you. It may work for somebody else. So this is always the problem with these kind of things, is when you start making lots of claims. Because of his anger and other things, he's big into psychic warfare and different technologies, but everything that he offers in terms of tools are kind of a joke, and there doesn't seem to be much there. When he was also put to the test by someone that I've known, a couple of people actually, in the remote viewing area, he backed down, because of the fact that he's probably not a good remote viewer and searching for some lost people, which he claims he's a demigod. He's not going to be successful, so that's going to cause a problem. And he was, I guess, had enough basic honor to turn down the job eventually anyway, when people put it to him that, hey, you know, can you do this or not? And he could not. So But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have his own abilities and own things. It doesn't mean that the information that he's giving out is incorrect. Basically, most of the information he gives out is correct. He has his own little spin on things like everybody does, and some of the information isn't true. But it certainly brings up an awful lot of questions, and he's out there at least confronting issues while other people are too cowardice to do so. While I would not recommend any of his products, looking at his courses or other things, particularly on YouTube, which are free, certainly I would recommend. I'm not sure about going through his schools or other things, but there's certainly some interesting training there. He does seem to be trying to survive and make money. This always causes problems. It started out as the Psy Lord, almost very comic booky, and I'm not even sure he was really serious about some of this stuff. And this is, but he has announced himself to this. He's now running a Hogwarts School of Magic. He's depleted everything else. Now he's trying to get into that particular field to train people. Now, I've not seen any of his courses, so I don't know what the value of them. I've seen his videos, and I do find the information interesting and certainly a step above and something refreshingly new, taking new spins on things. And I'm so tired of seeing the old nonsense that is rehashed and rehashed constantly by everybody. Other than IGOS Success Tech, which is constantly coming out with new improvements and empowered tools and everything else, the rest of this entire area is falling into the gutter. We have the same garbage radionic machines, the same garbage orgone, the same garbage methods of doing magical practices, and or the same garbage positive thinking visuals. It's all the same stuff that's been around now for virtually 100 years, and there's nothing new. One thing you'll get from Tim is you're going to get some new stuff, some outrageous stuff, some stuff that could be true. Interesting? Yes. And his presentations are interesting as well. So all of these things, I give Tim a big thumbs up. But like every information that's out there, buyer beware. We don't know what's true or not. And ultimately, what is true to you? It's what works for you personally. What works for everybody else has no value. What works in general has no value if it doesn't work for you. So that's what it comes down to. But you need to educate yourself. You just don't blindly follow anybody who tells you anything. And those that, particularly in the more common realities, those people that are going to get you rich on YouTube and other places, well, what do they have behind them? What verification do we know? Standing in front of houses and cars and everything else doesn't necessarily mean anything. How did they get their money? And, when you look into these people, a lot of them, you are looking at people who are very shady at the least. So you always have to be careful and prove to yourself it works. You're looking for tips and guidance. You're not looking to follow something to the letter of every single meaning of how they've stated them. You need to adapt things to your life, and that goes for the manifesting sciences as well. If you're good at one particular area, well, that's something you should build upon. Maybe other things you can't do. Maybe you don't like that. But there are foundations as well that people need to understand that IGOS Success Tech offers. If you don't have some basic skills, then you're never going to be successful. Even if you find a system from whomever that is fantastic, you'll never be able to activate it if you're not at the proper level of consciousness you need to be and have developed power areas, otherwise known as centering and occult gym practices. If you're not doing these things, you will not be successful, plain and simple. You may get a few hits here and there of using some great technologies or techniques and, the kind of beginner's luck things, but in the long run, you're going to have problems. So, I would recommend, as I do with most things, finding information from whatever you can get that's unique. But generally, everything you need to know will be coming through IGOS Success Tech. If you're one of our all-access members, you're going to get all this information as we put together the ultimate system from all time, from the beginning of wherever this credent human being came from. We will be putting together the finest technologies known creating the ultimate system that you can then apply to your life. So stay tuned for all that stuff. In the meantime, it's always fun to watch videos, think about what people have said, and then, take what we tell you and add in maybe this to give you greater understanding or something else to try. But always remember that there is very few, if any, people out there that have complete workable systems other than IGOS. I'm also the only person who's reached the state of gnosis. Well, this is valuable to interpret and apply information you're not going to get anywhere else. So, as I always say, people, remember there is no reality until the manifesting scientist creates it. Until next time.